He smelled her before he saw her. Iron, damp stone, old blood, cold fear, and beneath it, thin as a blade's whisper, an Omega's scent threaded with winter roses and storm rain. The Alpha King paused at the base of the winding stair, fingers resting lightly on the pommel of his sword, silver eyes narrowing as his wolf surged against his ribs. "Mate," the beast breathed. "Here. This dungeon is for traitors and rogues." His beta murmured behind him. "Not for your curiosity, my king." Kalen did not answer. The moon goddess rode high above his kingdom tonight, a crescent over Blackridge Keep, her faint light slipping through narrow arrow slits and down these ancient stones. The Pack Council waited in the throne hall with petitions and war maps, laws and blood oaths. But the scent below cut through it all. Forbidden. Fated. Impossible. He descended. Torches carved long bruised shadows along the walls. Cells whispered with chains and quiet breathing. Rogues. Thieves. Broken warriors. But the scent pulled him to the last door, rust-bitten iron and cold silver rune locks, humming softly with warded power. "Open it," Kalen said. The guard hesitated only once. "She was found at the border temple. Branded a spy." The council ordered. "I said open it." The door groaned. Torchlight spilled inside. She was there, chained to the wall by her wrists, a length of heavy silver dragging from her throat down to her shackles. Hood shadowed her face. Bare knees pressed into straw and stone. Omega, his instincts roared, not soft and sweet, but forged in something older, deeper. "Look at me," Kalen commanded, alpha power threaded through every word. She flinched. Her fingers curled tight. But her chin stayed lowered, dark hair veiling her features. "I am your king," he said. "You will raise your eyes when I speak." Silence. Her shoulders shook once, as if with swallowed laughter, no defiance. Then, quietly, "I know what you are. Alpha King. But I will not look up." His wolf stilled. For the first time in years, Kalen felt his fate shift. "Name," Kalen said, because he had to start somewhere that was not this unholy pounding in his chest. She exhaled slowly, as if wrestling with the air itself. "They called me Alara at the temple." He stepped closer, boots scraping stone. Her scent thickened, storm-soaked pine, crushed herbs, the faint copper echo of healing magic. Omega, yes, but threaded with power not meant for shackles. Runes glowed faintly on her chains, reacting to his presence, tightening. "The temple of the moon goddess at the eastern border," he said. "My riders found you there. Surrounded by rogues. Surrounded by dying men," Elara murmured. "I was healing them. Rogue wolves," his beta, Rylan, cut in sharply. "Enemies of the crown." She refused to step away when ordered. "She attacked one of our scouts when they tried to drag her off. I put a blade to the throat of a wolf who kicked a wounded boy," she said, still not looking up. "If that defies your law, then chain me." "We did," Rylan muttered. Kalen understood now why the council had sent word, Omega, healer, dangerous. Found amid rogues. Power unmarked by any known pack. She should have been meek on the stone, waiting to please, to beg. Instead, every breath from her smelled like refusal. "Why won't you look at your alpha?" he asked. "Because if I do," Alara said softly, "I will see the wolf I am bound to ruin." The words struck like a thrown spear. His wolf surged, "Mate." Rylan cursed under his breath. "Prophecy talk. She's been raving about curses since they dragged her in." "I have not raved," Elara said. "I have warned." Kalen crouched to her level, shadows folding around them. "Look at me, Omega. Let me decide if I believe your warning." Her shackles trembled. Her fingers flexed against cold metal. But her gaze stayed anchored to the stone. "No, my king. Because the moment I look up, you'll know it too. And nothing in your perfect law will survive it." He left her in chains, but not in peace. The throne hall blazed with torches when he entered, wolf banners hanging heavy from carved stone arches. The Pack Council rose as one, old alphas, silver-furred elders, scarred warriors draped in formal black and steel. Above them all, the crescent sigil of Blackridge, his line, his burden, watched like an unblinking eye. "Your Majesty," Elder Varos began. "About the Omega found at the temple." "She lives," Kalen said, ascending the black steps to his throne. "She is under my protection until I decide otherwise." A murmur rippled. The law was clear: any unknown Omega tied to rogues faced swift judgment. Omegas were coveted resources, bound by pack, bond mark, and bloodline. Free, unsworn Omegas with power were dangerous. Temptations. Weapons. "Our law decrees she be executed before the next blood moon," Varos said carefully. "A rogue Omega could fracture the bond lines, call enemies to your gates. We cannot risk the throne for one forbidden mate." The words slipped out like poison. Fated. Mate. Kalen's fingers tightened on the arm of his throne. "Who said she is my mate?" "No one," Varos said. "Not yet. But you went down there yourself. Your eyes say enough." Ryland shifted beside the throne. "Her scent is strong. Not like the palace Omegas. She's hiding something. She claims a prophecy," Kalen said. "That she will ruin the wolf she is bound to. Then unbind her," another counselor snapped. "Kill her before the moon goddess makes sport of us." A low growl rumbled from Kalen's chest, silencing the hall. "Our laws exist to protect the pack, not to slaughter healers on rumor." Varos bowed stiffly. "Then question her, my king. Test her blood. If she bears cursed lineage or rival alpha mark, we must act." "We will test," Kalen said. "Until then, no one but I or Rylan enters her cell." He felt their unease gather like smoke. He did not tell them that when he'd stood close enough to feel Alara's breath on his hands, his wolf had gone down on its knees. Night bled slow over Blackridge. Snow fell in thin, cold veils across the battlements, layering rooftops, softening edges of stone and steel. In the courtyard, young warriors trained by moonlight, their howls rising in fierce, proud echoes that threaded through Kalen's bones. This was his kingdom. His pack. His law. None of it felt steady. He went back to the dungeon. Alone this time. No council eyes. No beta witness. The torches burned low, smoking. Alara's chains hummed faintly in the dark. "I told you not to come back," she said before he spoke. "I am your king," Kalen said, more habit than truth tonight. "You don't tell me where I go. You are an alpha who smells like the winter sky before a storm," she murmured. "You are close enough that my bones hurt. That is already too far." He stepped inside, closed the door. "Why prophecy, Omega?" "Because the moon goddess does not stay silent when kings forget why they were given crowns," Alara whispered. "Because I was raised at her temple to hear what others won't." He circled her slowly, studying the collar. The sigils burned faintly into her skin, old scars shaped like crescent moons along her wrists. Temple trained. Consecrated. Dangerous to claim. "What did she say about me?" he asked. Alara's breath shook. "Under stone and chain, you will find your heart," she recited. "But if you mark what is forbidden, your throne will burn. Your heir will bleed. Your kingdom will kneel to ash." Silence crowded in. "You think you are forbidden," Kalen said at last. "I know I am," she replied. "My bloodline is not clean enough for your law. My power is not tame enough for your counsel. And you," her jaw clenched, "you are already too close. My law bends for my command." "Does it?" she whispered. "Or will your counsel drag me to the execution square while you pretend the bond doesn't scream in your chest?" His wolf bared its teeth. "Look at me," he said again, softer now. "Please." Alara shuddered. "If I look up, Alpha, either of us will be able to lie anymore." Days passed measured in snowfalls and stolen visits. Kalen questioned her, and she answered in fragments. The temple had burned. Rogues had come not to worship but to beg. She had healed whoever crawled through the shattered doors, pack-marked or not. When his riders stormed in, swords drawn and laws blazing, they saw only an Omega standing between their king's banners and the enemy. "I touched a rogue child," Elara said once, voice raw. "I held his hand as he shifted for the first time and didn't tear his throat out, so they called me traitor. Your law is blind when it fears. You drew steel on my scout," Kalen countered. He struck a boy who couldn't even shift. His jaw had tightened. He'd found no easy answer. Outside, the pack council pressed. Under the blood moon, they insisted, the kingdom would renew its oaths. Sacrifices would be made, laws reaffirmed. Any unsworn Omega with unknown blood must die before then. It had always been so. "You cannot keep her," Barros said. "If she is your fated mate, the more reason to spill her blood before destiny sets." "If she is my fated mate," Kalen replied, "then killing her is treason against the moon goddess herself." "Or mercy," Barros said quietly. Kalen's nights grew restless. Dreams of a dungeon cell, of dark lashes lifting to reveal eyes that knew his soul. Always, she refused to meet his gaze, and he woke with his wolf howling. On the 7th night, he brought her water himself, ignoring protocol. Her hands shook as she drank. He saw the raw red where silver bit her wrists. "You're killing her," his wolf snarled. Kalen reached out without thinking, fingertips brushing the chain at her throat, then the skin beneath. Heat. A jolt like lightning. Elara jerked, swallowing a gasp. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't touch what you can't claim." "Who says I can't?" "The moon. The law. The blood that runs in me." "And what blood is that?" She hesitated then. "The blood of the rival Alpha you executed 10 winters ago." The name hit like a blade. Darius of the Ashen Claw, traitor Alpha, Warbringer, the monster in every pup's tale. Kalen remembered his throat torn on the snow, remembered offering his heart to the moon in victory. "You're lying," he said, but the words had no teeth. "My mother was his sister," Elara replied. "Banished for refusing to follow him into madness. She hid me in the temple when your father's warriors slaughtered everyone with his mark." "If this is true, you are ashen blood," Kalen said. "The council will never allow." "Exactly," she said. "That is why I will not look at you. Why I refuse this bond. I will not be the curse in your throne hall." Rival Alpha blood. Sacred healer. Fated Omega. It was a knot designed to strangle a kingdom. "There is more to prophecy than fear," Kalen murmured. "What if the moon sent you to mend what our fathers broke? What if she sent me to raise it?" Elara asked. "If you mark me, your enemies will rise. Your council will turn. Your own pack will question your bloodline. Your heir." "My heir is not yet born," he cut in. "Exactly. The prophecy speaks of a bleeding heir. Of war. He should walk away. Order her execution and spare his kingdom the brink. That was what a clean Alpha King would do. He would not risk his pack for an Omega whose scent made his hands shake. Instead, Kalen said, "You will not be touched until I decide. That is my law." "You are gambling your kingdom on a stranger in chains," she whispered. "On my mate," he answered before he could stop himself. Her breath caught. Her knuckles whitened in the shackles. "You shouldn't have said that. Look at me and tell me I'm wrong." The silence between them thrummed. But when she finally shifted, it was only to turn her face further into shadow. "I can't," she said. "Because you're not." The blood moon neared. With it came omens. Rogue wolves testing borders. Smoke pillars on far hills. Howls carried from unfamiliar throats. The pack council fretted over strategy, demanding Kalen's full attention as they laid out war maps across the long oaken table in the war tent erected in the courtyard. "We are being provoked," Ryland said. "Rival packs think you weakened, distracted by this Omega." "Then let them see I am not," Kalen replied coldly. "Prove it," Barros urged. "End her before the moon turns red. It will seal loyalty." The thought of Elara's throat bared on the snow made his wolf lunge at the bars of his ribs. No, Kaelin said. I will not stain the goddess's night with a healer's blood. You would defy centuries of law for her? I would defy anything that demands I butcher my own mate. Gasps. Silence. The words were out now, impossible to recall. Varro's eyes sharpened. So it is true. Ryland swore. Kaelin. Careful, the king growled. You are my friend, not my keeper. Someone must be, if you won't be your own. Ryland snapped back quietly. That night, Kaelin went again to the dungeon, heart raw. You told them, Elara said into the darkness, as if she heard his thoughts. They cornered me with their fear, he said. And I chose truth. You painted a target on my heart. I am the shield between you and their blades. And if the prophecy is right? She asked, voice shaking. If loving me ruins you? Then let ruin come, he murmured. I am tired of a crown built on old blood. For the first time, she faltered. The chains rattled softly as her shoulders trembled. Don't say things like that, she whispered. You make it harder not to look. Then don't fight it. I must, Elara said. For you. For them. Snowstorms walled the kingdom in white. The night before the blood moon, the dungeon felt colder than the peaks. Frost feathered the bars. The torches struggled. Elara's lips were pale, her breath shallow. Silver poisoned slowly, shackles meant to suppress an enemy's power were burning into sacrificial skin. You're freezing, Kaelin said, striding in, ripping his cloak from his shoulders. I am chained to a wall beneath the world, she murmured. Cold is expected. He wrapped his cloak around her anyway, ignoring protocol and propriety, fingers brushing her shoulders, her throat, the curve of her jaw. Every touch a spark, every spark the echo of a bond that refused to be denied. Tomorrow they mean to force my hand, he said. The council wants your death at moonrise to bind the pacts. Then do it, Elara whispered, and the words hurt more than any blade. Kill me quickly, before they tear you apart for hesitating. No. My life is one breath against your people's thousands, she said. This is not a love story, Alpha. It is a correction. He laughed once, darkly. You think the moon sent me a mate only to cut my throat with her? She has done worse, Elara murmured. He stepped close enough that his presence enveloped her, his scent like winter fir and iron and pine. His wolf pressed forward, desperate. You say you will ruin me, he said low. What if I let you? What if I burn this old law down before it devours another innocent? Elara shivered. If you look into my eyes under the blood moon, you won't be able to stop. Then that is when I will look, Kaelin said. On the night our fates are clearest. She let out a strangled sound, half curse, half prayer. You're a fool. Or a king who finally hears the moon, he replied. The blood moon rose swollen and red over Blackridge. The entire kingdom gathered in the execution square turned ritual ground. Torches ringed the stone platform. Wolves ringed the torches, warriors, elders, omegas, pups on shoulders. The pack council stood near the carved altar, the law book open, pages fluttering in the cold wind. Ryland brought Elara in chains. Cloak torn away, collar bared, wrists bound. She walked with quiet, terrible dignity, gaze lowered so fiercely it was like armor. Kaelin waited at the top of the stone steps, crowned and cloaked, silver eyes lit by crimson moonlight. His wolf clawed at him. Mate. Claim. Protect. Varro's voice boomed over the silent crowd. On this blood moon, by ancient decree, we cleanse our packs of cursed bloodlines. An unsworn omega of unknown allegiance stands before us. Our king will pass judgment. Our law will be obeyed. The crowd murmured, law, law, law. Kaelin took the blade offered to him. Silver. Ceremonial. 1,000 years of tradition pressed on its hilt. Elara knelt at his feet. Not in submission, but in acceptance. Do it, she whispered, only for him. End this before it begins. He stared down at her, at the storm-tangled hair, the wounds on her wrists, the collar that shone like an accusation under the blood moon. "Look at me," he said softly. Her fingers clenched. "No. I command it. Please," she breathed. "Don't make this harder. I cannot condemn a woman whose eyes I have never seen," Kalen said, his voice carrying now, amplified by alpha power. "Look at me, Omega, and let our people hear the truth of what we are." Silence fell like snow. Very slowly, as if lifting a mountain, Elara raised her head. When her gaze met his, the world broke open. Her eyes were not meek Omega blue or submissive gray. They were silver like starlight on steel, rimmed in the crimson reflection of the moon. The same rare hue burned in his own irises. Mirrored. Matched. Unmistakable. A howl ripped from his chest without permission. The crowd staggered under the force of the bond lighting between them, bright and wild. Some wolves dropped to their knees purely on instinct. "Fated," someone gasped. "Moon-marked," another whispered. Varro's face strained of color. "My king!" "The prophecy." Elara's breath trembled. Tears gathered but did not fall. "I told you," she whispered, voice shaking. "I would ruin you." Kalen dropped the blade. The silver rang against stone, a clean, sharp sound. "By the moon goddess who bound us," he said loud and clear, "I will never spill the blood of my mate." Chaos exploded. Counselors shouting. Elders snarling. Some warriors howled in fury, others in awe. "She is ashen blood," Varos roared. "If you claim her, you tie our throne to traitors. The prophecy will fall upon us. The air." "Enough," Kalen thundered, alpha command silencing them. "Our laws were written by frightened men, not the moon. I will not murder the woman she chose for me because of another alpha's sins." "You damn us all," Varos hissed. Ryland's hand hovered near his sword. "Kalen, listen." "I am listening," he said. "To my wolf. To my goddess. To the healer who risked her life for an enemy child." He stepped forward, broke Elara's chains with one brutal swing of his fist, power flaring. The collar cracked, silver runes spat died. Kalen touched her bare throat with reverence. "Stand with me." Elara swayed. "If you mark me, war will come." "It was coming anyway," he murmured. "Now it will come for the right reason." The first arrow struck the stone where Kalen had stood a heartbeat before. Rogue wolves surged from the shadows beyond the torch ring, eyes glinting pharaoh red, cloaks bearing the faded sigil of Ashen Claw. They had waited for chaos, for division. The bond flare between King and cursed Omega was their signal. "Protect the king!" Ryland roared, shoving Elara behind Kalen as warriors shifted mid-leap, bones cracking, fur bursting through skin. The square erupted into snarls and clash of steel. Varos' lips twisted. For one terrible moment Kalen saw satisfaction there. "You led them here." Kalen snarled. "Not them." Varos spat. "But I knew your weakness would draw all enemies to crown. You have done this." He reached for Elara, but Ryland intercepted, steel meeting steel. "Elara," Kalen said, ignoring the counselor's treachery for the moment burning hotter, "enemies at the gate. Can you fight?" "I can heal," she answered, shaking, power rising like silver mist from her hands. "I can shield." "Then stand by me." The blood moon watched as Kalen shifted in a sweep of bone and fur, his massive silver wolf form landing before her, teeth bared. Elara lifted her hands. A crescent of shimmering light burst outward, deflecting an arrow meant for his heart. Rogue wolves howled. Pack warriors responded. Blackridge steel met Ashen Fang. The prophecy unfolded not as a quiet curse, but as open war in the square of their laws. Elara moved among the wounded, shackles trailing broken links, pressing glowing hands to torn flesh. Wolves that would have bled out staggered to their feet. She dragged a pup from under a fallen warrior, taking an arrow through her shoulder instead. Kalen saw red. In a single bound he was on the rogue archer, jaws crushing bone. His wolf fought like a storm, circling Elara, anchoring her in a world gone mad. This is my mate, he thought, killing for her, bleeding for her. Let the moon judge me. When dawn cracked faint gray over Blackridge, the snow in the square was pink and trampled, the torches guttered out. The rogues lay dead or bound. Varos knelt among them, wrists shackled in the same silver he'd ordered for Alara. His plot to force the king's hand had shattered beneath the weight of his own arrogance. Alara swayed on her feet, blood soaking her torn dress, silver light flickering weakly at her fingertips. She had healed until her vision blurred, until her lips went numb, until every breath felt borrowed. Kaelin, back in human form and streaked with blood and ash, closed the space between them. Enough, he said, catching her as she stumbled. You've given them more than they ever deserved. They are your pack, she whispered against his chest. They are your destiny. I will not be the curse that lets them die. He cupped her face, thumb brushing a smear of blood from her cheek. Listen to me. You are the only reason half of them are still breathing. Nearby, wolves who had doubted her watched with wide, shaken eyes, remembering her hands on their wounds, the way her power had sealed flesh, steadied hearts. The word which died on their tongues. Let all who stand in this square hear me, Kaelin said, voice ringing hoarse but unbroken. The moon goddess has shown her will. This Omega is my fated mate. Any hand raised against her is raised against your king. A murmur uncertain but growing. Some wolves bowed their heads. Others looked away, wrestling old law and new debt. Ryland stepped forward, blood on his jaw. She saved my brother, he said. If you condemn her, you condemn half our warriors. I stand with my king. Slowly, one by one, others echoed. Alara trembled. You are rewriting centuries in a single dawn. Then let history learn to keep up, Kaelin murmured. They took her from the dungeon to the upper tower. Not to gild her cage, but to give her sky. The healer's chamber overlooked the pines and white-topped roofs, the training yards, the glittering river beyond the walls. Alara stood at the window wrapped in a fur-lined cloak, shoulder bandaged, watching breath cloud the glass. She should have run. Every instinct screamed to flee before fate tightened. But the bond hummed between them like a shared heartbeat. Kaelin entered quietly. No crown now, just a man in dark leathers, hair loose, silver eyes softer than she thought possible. How do you feel? He asked. Like I've been tangled in a wolf's war, she said wryly. And survived by accident. That's my line, he said, and almost smiled. Silence settled, not uncomfortable this time. Her scent curled through the chamber. His wolf leaned into it like a starving thing. I meant what I said, Kaelin murmured. About you being my mate. About changing the law. You can't unmake fear with a speech, Alara replied. They will whisper. They will plot. Varos will not be the last. I know. They will say the Ashen bloodline has taken our throne through your bond mark. Then we show them another story, he said, stepping closer. One where Ashen blood ends war instead of feeding it. He lifted his hand, hesitated. She saw the tremor there. May I? She swallowed. You shouldn't. I am so tired of shouldn'ts. His fingers brushed her neck, right where a mate mark would bloom if he let his wolf free. Her pulse leapt, answering some old, sacred call. Kaelin, she whispered. His name felt dangerous and holy on her tongue. If I mark you, nothing can unbind us, he said. No counsel. No prophecy. No law. And if the prophecy is right? He held her gaze, steady and unafraid. Then we face it together. He did not mark her that night. Instead, they talked until the torches burned low. Of temples and training yards, of her childhood under stone arches and moonlight prayers, of his youth learning blade work instead of lullabies, of the weight of a crown and the quiet of a sanctuary. Alara watched the Alpha King shed his armor in words, piece by piece, until she saw not only the wolf but the weary man beneath. In turn, he listened as she confessed secrets, that she could feel pain coming before it struck, that sometimes in dreams, the moon goddess bled silver tears over a burning throne, that she begged to be hidden from all fated bonds. I thought if she never set my path, I couldn't break anyone, Elara admitted. And yet she threw you at my feet, Kaelin said dryly. Very dramatically, she allowed. He huffed a quiet laugh. She does like theater. The warmth between them was fragile, shimmering. No chains, no law book, just two souls standing at the edge of something enormous. I cannot promise the next moons will be gentle, Kaelin said. Rogue packs saw tonight. They will test us. The council will demand oaths. Varos will face trial. Old loyalties will tear. And in all of that, I will be the cursed Omega at your side, Elara said softly. You will be the Luna who stood in chains and chose to heal the ones who shackled her, he corrected. We will make sure they remember that. Luna, she repeated, as if tasting an impossible word. If you want it, he said. Her heart clenched. Want was the problem. Want was the door the prophecy waited behind. We should sleep, she whispered. Before I say yes to things we cannot afford. Sleep, Kaelin agreed. I'll post my most loyal guards at your door. And if your enemies are inside your walls? His smile vanished. Then we burn rot from the roots. In the days that followed, Blackridge held its breath. Varos was imprisoned to await open trial under the next full moon, a radical act in itself. Kings before Kaelin would have quietly executed such treachery. Kaelin wanted the pack to see, to hear the betrayal laid bare, to understand why old laws must change. Some called it weakness. Others, unsettlingly, called it hope. Elara moved through the keep under escort, no longer chained, but shadowed by wary gazes. She tended wounds in the infirmary, cool hands glowing faintly as she knit torn flesh. She spoke gently to pups frightened by stories of ashen claws. She never complained when she saw suspicion, she only worked until exhaustion blurred her vision. Every life you touch, Rylan said one evening, watching her bind a guard's ribs, makes it harder for them to hate you. I am not trying to win them, Elara replied. I am trying to be worth the ruin they fear. Rylan had no answer. Kaelin watched, torn between pride and terror. The prophecy's shadow stretched long, air bleeding, throne burning, kingdom bowed. And yet each act of kindness from Elara stoked something opposite, a slow, glowing defiance against doom. One night storms lashed the castle. Thunder rolled like battle drums. Kaelin found Elara alone in the moonlit courtyard, rain soaking her hair, bare feet on cold stone. You should be inside, he said. I needed air, she murmured. And to hear if she's still angry. He joined her under the rain. Is she? Elara closed her eyes briefly. No. That is what frightens me. He stepped closer, water streaming down his jaw. You exhaust yourself saving those who would have watched you die. It makes you less alone, she said simply. Something in him cracked. He lifted a hand, brushed wet hair from her face, thumb lingering at her cheekbone. She looked up at him, and there it was again, that spark like a vow half-spoken. Tell me to stop, he said. She didn't. The kiss, when it came, was not soft or convenient. Lightning carved the sky. Rain hammered stone. Kaelin's hand cupped the back of her neck, drawing her in like he'd been drowning for years. Elara rose on her toes, fingers curling in his cloak, breath catching as their mouths met, salt and storm and a desperate, aching reverence. The bond roared. Wolves across the keep stirred, restless, feeling a tremor in the invisible lines that tied them all. He broke away first, breathing hard. Elara! This is a mistake, she whispered, though her forehead leaned against his, though her wolf, quiet so long, finally stirred, pressing toward his. Say you don't want me, and I stop, he said. She tried. The word lodged behind her teeth like a lie. I want, her voice broke. I want a kingdom that doesn't hang mates in squares. I want a law that doesn't make children enemies. I want you alive at the end of it. Then help me build that, he said. If I stay, prophecy coils tighter. If you run, it strangles me alone. Thunder shook the courtyard. Kaelin, she whispered, fingers brushing the bare skin over his heart, feeling its fierce, stubborn rhythm. If I let you mark me, there is no going back. I have no desire to go back, he murmured. Her lashes fluttered closed. Then wait. Just a little longer. Let me see if I can turn ruin into something else. He nodded, swallowing frustration and relief in equal measure. I will wait. But know this, law or no law, prophecy or no prophecy, you are already mine. And you, she said weakly, are a disaster. The rogues did not vanish with dawn's peace. Messages arrived tied to arrow shafts in the outer pines. Accusations painted in blood on border stones: Oathbreaker King, Ashen Queen, Moon Traitors. A rival alpha named Halvar, son of Darius, claimed to bear the true Ashen legacy. He rallied scattered packs with promises: topple Blackridge, restore the old terror. He uses your bloodline as a banner, Kaelin said grimly, tossing one such message onto the war table. Elara's jaw tightened. He twists a ghost into a crown. The Pack Council will say this proves them right about you, Ryland said. Then let me speak when Varos stands trial, Elara replied. Let me face them with truth instead of shadow. Kaelin searched her face. You're not our shield, Elara. Aren't I? She asked softly. Isn't that what the moon made me, binding me to a king on the brink? Later, alone, she knelt before her narrow tower window, moonlight silvering her hair. Is this what you wanted? She whispered to the sky. To make me the blade that cuts or the bandage that fails? No answer came, only the hush of snow. Yet when she rose, there was steadiness in her bones. Love had crept in despite her fear, stitched between stolen moments and shared glances. It did not roar like prophecy. It grew quiet and stubborn, like roots under stone. If ruin must come, she thought, let it fall on me, not him. The trial of Varos drew every eye in the kingdom. Held in the throne hall beneath wolf banners and stained glass moons, it was the first time in living memory that an elder of the council stood bound before the pack. His crimes were laid out. Collusion with enemies, attempts to incite regicide through manipulated law, secret communications with Halvar's rogues. Varos sneered. I did what our ancestors would have done. I tried to save us from the king's weakness. By delivering us to those who would gut our pups in their beds. Ryland snapped. You crowned an ashen-born Omega in your heart. Varos spat at Kaelin. You spit on every wolf we buried because of her blood. Elara stood at the hall's edge, pulse thudding. Whispers crawled over her skin. Ashen. Omega. Healer. Curse. Mate. Kaelin raised a hand. Silence fell. Bring Elara forward, he said. Gasps. She walked the aisle alone, shoulders square, wearing plain healer's grey with no jewels, no crown. Only the faint silver glow at her fingertips betrayed the power coiled beneath her skin. She bowed her head briefly to the assembly, then lifted her gaze and held it there. No more hiding. Tell them, Kaelin said gently, what you did on the blood moon. I healed your sons, she said, voice clear. Your brothers. Your friends. I shielded pups from arrows meant for them. I bled for wolves who would have watched me die. Murmurs uneasy. I am ashen blood, she continued. I will not deny it. But I am also moon-bound. I chose to end my uncle's cruelty. I stood against Halvar's first raid. I chose life over vengeance. Her eyes met Varos. You used the dead as chains. I used their memory as a warning. A warrior in the crowd spoke up, voice rough. She saved my boy. Another. She closed my wound when I thought my wolf lost. Kaelin's gaze swept the hall. This is the Omega you would have me kill. This is the mate the moon gave me. Varos would have sold us all to rogues rather than watch his precious law bend. He let the word settle. Our law must serve our people. Not the other way around. Varos was sentenced to exile beyond the northern wastes, stripped of rank and bond, cast out beneath a sky that no longer called him pack. It was a mercy harsher than death. The hall's verdict was not unanimous, but it was loud enough. For the first time, Alara saw something like protection in the eyes that turned toward her. Not acceptance. Not yet. But a question: could this be the path that kept their children alive? In the quiet after, Kaelin found her alone in the side chapel where candles burned for fallen wolves. "You stood like a queen," he said. "I stood like someone trying not to faint," she replied faintly. He smiled then, small and real. "You were magnificent." She watched the candlelight dance on his features. "You risked everything for me." "I risked everything for the truth," he corrected. "You just happened to be the shape it arrived in." Her chest ached. "Halvar will come. I know. He will say I belong to his pack. To his cause. Do you?" Kaelin asked quietly. "No," she said without hesitation. "I belong where the moon placed me. Even if I'm terrified of what she's done." His hand found hers, warm and firm. "Then stand with me when he comes. Not behind me. Beside me. I am still unmarked," she reminded him. "For now," he said. "When I mark you, it will be with your full consent and the blessing of our people." "That might never come," she whispered. His thumb brushed the back of her hand. "I can be patient. I have a kingdom to occupy me while you decide." Halvar did not send more threats. He sent fire. A village on the southern border burned under red skies. Survivors staggered to Blackridge gates with tales of gray-furred wolves bearing ashen scars, of a leader cloaked in bones who shouted that the true Ashen Omega had been stolen by a weak king. "He is using my name," Alara said, bow rising. "Then we answer," Kaelin growled. The war council gathered around the map once more. Ryland pointed to the river bend near the ruined temple. "He's pushing us to meet him on sacred ground. He wants symbolism. Then we take it from him," Alara said. All eyes turned to her. "You trained at that temple," Kaelin said slowly. "I know its wards, its broken altars, the bones of its power," she replied. "If Halvar expects the moon to favor him there, we show him she has chosen otherwise." Ryland frowned. "You're suggesting we bring our Omega, our potential Luna, into open battle." "I'm suggesting you bring your only leverage against his myth," Alara said. "He paints me as his stolen queen. Let your pack see where I stand." Kaelin's jaw worked. The thought of her near Halvar's claws made his vision go white. "That's exactly what he wants," he said. "It's what your people need," she countered. "To see me choose." Silence, thick with fear and resolve. At last, Kaelin nodded once. "We meet him at the temple. Under the crescent moon 3 nights from now. Ryland, prepare the vanguard." Alara. "Yes, my king? If you step onto that field, you do so under my protection," he said, voice low. "And under no one else's." She held his gaze. "I step as mine. But I won't object if you stand very close." The ruins of the Moon Temple rose from the snow like broken teeth. Once white stone, now blackened by old flame. The crescent altar cracked but not destroyed. The night was knife-cold, the moon a slim silver curve above, watching. Halvar waited there with his rogues, a lean, scarred alpha with burning ember eyes. Bones hung from his belt. Ashen claw sigils smeared in blood across his chest. "You bring my bride back," he called when Kaelin's forces emerged from the treeling. "How generous!" Alara stood between Kaelin and Ryland, cloak hood down, wind biting her cheeks. "I am not your anything," she said, voice carrying. Halvar's gaze raked over her. Ashen eyes. Moon-touched hands. "You are ours." "I am not your heir," she said. "I chose mercy when Darius chose slaughter. I chose healing when you choose fire. I choose this pack." Murmurs swept Blackridge's ranks. Her declaration cut the air clean. "She is my fated mate," Kaelin said. "She stands under my protection and by her own will. Leave our lands, Halvar. Take what wolves will follow you who have not stained themselves in pup blood, and I may yet spare you." Halvar laughed, wild and broken. "You think the moon favors a king who kisses curses?" You think one bond mark will unwrite the blood in her veins? His wolves snarled, shifting. Elara stepped forward before Kaelin could stop her. Silver light coiled at her fingers. Moon goddess, she whispered, so softly only the wind and Kaelin heard. If you ever loved me, hear me now. The crescent above brightened. Just a little. Enough. Halvar lunged. Battle erupted. Blackridge wolves met rogues in a collision of fur and steel. Kaelin shifted mid-stride, his silver wolf slamming into Halvar's gray form. They tore at each other in a blur of fangs, prophecy and pride. Elara moved to the shattered altar, power singing through her bones. She pressed her bloodied palm to the cracked stone. I am ashen by blood, she cried, voice ringing above the chaos. But I am yours by choice, Moon. Bind my line to peace or end it with me. Light exploded from beneath her hand, blinding white silver. It seared up her arm, through her chest, across the field. Wolves on both sides staggered. The air smelled of ash and rain. Halvar faltered, yelping as the light scorched his fur. Kaelin took the opening, driving him into the snow. Stop, his wolf heard, not from Elara's lips but from somewhere deeper. A goddess echo. Kaelin held Halvar pinned, teeth at his throat, and did not tear. This ends, Kaelin growled, half man in his mind, half wolf in his bones. No more villages. No more pups dead for your vengeance. Halvar spat blood. She belongs to us. Elara approached, haloed in fading light, eyes glowing fiercely. I belong to no one who would burn children in my name, she said. I renounce the ashen claim. Before the moon and all her witnesses. The crescent flared, agreement. Something broke in Halvar's gaze. Then there is nothing left, he whispered. He lunged for her, last desperate. Kaelin moved faster. When it was done, the snow drank quiet. The survivors limped home beneath a softer moon. At Blackridge, wolves whispered of what they had seen, an Omega who glowed with the goddess's touch, a king who spared when he could have slaughtered, a prophecy bent but not shattered. In the throne hall, Kaelin stood before his pack, Elara at his side. Not behind. Beside. We were told a story, he said. That cursed blood cannot be redeemed. That laws never bend. That prophecy is a noose. I reject that. The hall rustled. This Omega Elara, he continued, was chained in our dungeon and still healed our wounded. She faced the Alpha who claimed her as weapon and chose us instead. If that is a curse, then may we all be so blessed. A ripple of rueful laughter broke tension. I will rewrite our laws, Kaelin said. From this day, no Omega will be executed for the blood of their fathers. No child will be judged by a mark they did not choose. Bondmates chosen by the moon will be honored, not slaughtered to ease old men's fear. An elder rose, voice shaking. And the prophecy of the bleeding air? Kaelin's gaze found Elara's. She held it steady, fingers brushing his knuckles. If the moon demands a price, he said slowly, we will pay it together when it comes. Not with cowardice. With courage. Do you stand with this king? Someone called to Elara. She stepped forward, heart loud. I do, she said. Not because fate said so. Because I watched him choose mercy when law screamed for blood. Because he believed an Omega in chains could be more than a warning. Silence stretched. Then Rylan thumped a fist to his chest. I stand with them. One by one, warriors mirrored. Elders reluctantly. Omegas with cautious hope. The hall began to sound like a future. That night, under a clean white moon, Kaelin led Elara to the quiet garden behind the keep. Frost jeweled the bare branches. A small stone pool reflected their faces, side by side. No council, he said. No prophecy. Just us. Her heart fluttered. That's dangerous. He smiled a little. I'm fond of dangerous. They stood close enough that their breaths mingled. His fingers traced idle patterns at her wrist, over skin no longer rubbed raw by shackles. You still haven't marked me, she said. I said I would wait, he replied. Until your yes is louder than your fear. Elara exhaled, seeing the journey behind them: dungeon shadows, blood moon fire, temple light, war and whispered prayers. She saw also the man who came back to her cell again and again, who lowered his blade, who let himself be ruined in the right ways. My fear may never vanish, she said quietly. I know. But my yes is very loud tonight. His eyes darkened. Elara, if I am your ruin, she whispered, stepping closer, then let me also be the reason your kingdom remembers mercy. Always, he said. She bared her neck in the ancient gesture of trust. No chains. No command. Her choice. Mark me, Alpha King, she murmured, and let the moon bear witness to the law we write with our lives. His wolf surged forward, reverent and wild. Kaelin's hands framed her face, his mouth brushing hers once, twice, sealing every unsaid vow. Then he lowered his lips to the hollow where her pulse beat. The bite was swift, hot, a flare of pain that melted instantly into something enormous. The mate bond snapped into place with a thunderous, tender certainty. Two souls braided, two wolves wrapped around each other in moonlight. Elara gasped, clutching at his shoulders as visions spilled through her: his first kill, his first coronation, his loneliness in a hollow stone, his stubborn hope. In return, he saw her temple days, her terror under falling ash, every prayer she'd whispered that she might never break someone. I choose you, his wolf said into her bones. I choose you back, hers answered. Above them, the moon flared bright, then settled, as if satisfied. No thunderclap of doom. No throne cracking. Just a deep, shared breath. Kaelin lifted his head, eyes glowing. A matching mark bloomed on his skin where her teeth had grazed him, delicate crescent twined with ashen sigil made new. Queen of mine, he murmured. She laughed softly, tears bright. You're insufferable. Luna, he tried again. She sighed, but leaned into him. That one I can wear. They stood there a long time, wrapped in fur and cold air and warmth that came from somewhere deeper. The pack's distant howls drifted over the walls, curious and full. If ruins still waited in some hidden chapter of prophecy, they would meet it bound together. But for now, the only future Elara saw when she closed her eyes was a throne hall where no child trembled before the law, and a king who had learned to kneel to love. Seasons turned. Under Elara's guidance, healers were trained from all castes, not only temple-born. Under Kaelin's decree, Omegas took roles beyond silk and silent smiles. They learned her craft, diplomacy, even the sword if they wished. Some elders grumbled. Most packs watched. Slowly, results spoke louder than doubts. Fewer graves. Stronger bonds. In council, Elara's presence beside the throne became as natural as the banners. She listened before she spoke, and when she did, even those who resented her lineage grudgingly acknowledged sense in her words. They feared you would end us, Kaelin said once, amused, as they oversaw pups tumbling through training drills. Instead you make us impossible to topple. Don't sound so disappointed, she replied. I'm delighted, he said. The moon's ruin tastes surprisingly like salvation. Privately, in the quiet of their chambers, they were just Kaelin and Elara. Mate and mate. There were nights of shared nightmares where she soothed his guilt over the blood on his hands, and he kissed away her fear that some hidden curse would still awaken. There were mornings when he woke to find her tracing new laws in the air with sleepy fingers, and he promised to make them real. The prophecy of the bleeding air remained a shadow, but no longer a blade at their throats. If a child came, they would guard it with all the fierceness of two wolves who had outrun doom. And if no child ever did, their legacy was already scrawled across every changed life in the kingdom. One cold evening, standing on the balcony above the moonlit courtyard, Elara rested a hand over her belly with a wondering frown. Elara? Kaelin asked, instantly alert. She took his hand, laid it there too. A faint, new rhythm fluttered against his palm. Oh, he breathed. Tears spilled unchecked. If the air must bleed, she whispered, we will make sure it's for something worth saving. He folded her close, holding his family, present and future, as if he could shield them from the stars. The day their son was born, the sky wept silver rain. Elara labored beneath the carved moons of the royal chamber, surrounded by healers she had trained, guarded by warriors who had once eyed her like a curse. Kaelin's hand never left hers. He had faced armies with less terror. When the child's first cry pierced the air, raw and furious, wolves across Blackridge lifted their heads in instinctive answer. "He's strong," one healer murmured, passing the squirming bundle to Elara's chest. The pup, dark-haired, silver-eyed, blinked up at them with uncanny focus. A thin smear of blood ribboned his cheek where a birth scratch had caught, bright against pale skin. "The air will bleed," Elara remembered aloud, voice unsteady. Kaelin brushed the drop away with his thumb, kissing the spot. "Prophecy fulfilled cheaply," he said. "No throne burning. No kingdom on its knees. Just a boy who yelled at his first breath." A laugh broke through her tears. "Perhaps she is kinder than we thought." He looked at them, Luna and Air, with something like awe. "Or perhaps we taught her a new ending." Outside, the pack howled a greeting. No whispers of curse now, only feral joy. Elara held her son close, heart so full it ached. Fate had led her into a dungeon to die and given her instead a throne she'd never wanted and a love she couldn't deny. She remembered that first night, refusing to look up, certain that one glance would doom them both. If I had looked, she thought, I would have seen this. She met Kaelin's eyes over their child's dark head. Bond warmth swelled, vast and steady. Whatever storms still waited, they would walk through them together, paws aligned on the same path. Years later, stories spread far beyond Blackridge. Bards in distant markets sang of the Omega in chains who healed the wolves who broke her, of the Alpha King who dropped his execution blade beneath the blood moon, of a prophecy outwitted by mercy and stubborn love. Other packs with their own hunted bloodlines listened, and some began to change. Cautiously. Imperfectly. But change all the same. Halvard became a warning, Varos a footnote, Darius a ghost that no longer ruled the living. In the quiet hours after council, Kaelin and Elara would sometimes return to the old dungeon cell. Its iron door hung open now. No shackles. Torches burned warmer. "It feels smaller," Elara remarked once, running her fingers over the pitted stone. "You've grown," Kaelin said, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Queens are large creatures." She elbowed him, smiling. "Don't make me chain you down here for flattery crimes." He kissed her temple. "Never again will these walls taste your fear." They had turned a place of endings into a reminder that even in darkest stone, a different choice could be made. Some nights, when the moon was red and memories pressed in, Elara still woke, with her heart racing, certain she'd hear a crowd calling for her blood. Kaelin would pull her close, their bond mark warm against his lips as he kissed it. "I am here," he'd murmur. "You are here. We changed it." "And if the moon ever whispers new prophecies?" she'd ask. "Then we'll argue with her again," he'd reply. "It went well last time." On a clear winter night, with the castle quiet and their son sneaking out to shift badly behind the stables, Elara and Kaelin stood alone on the highest tower. The kingdom stretched below, lanterns like fallen stars. Wolves patrolled, not from desperation but from pride. "Do you ever miss the man you would have been without me?" Elara asked gently. "A lonelier tyrant," he said, "whose laws went unchallenged and whose bed stayed cold." "No, thank you." "Careful. You're almost poetic," she teased. "And you?" he asked. "Do you miss the life you might have had if you never looked up?" "I would be bones under temple ash," she said simply. "So no." He slid his hand into hers. Their marks brushed, a quiet thrill. "I feared you," she admitted softly. "Not just because you were Alpha, or King. Because you were possibility." He huffed. "I feared you because you saw through all this." He gestured to the banners, the stone, the crown. "To the man who didn't know how to be anything but a weapon." "You've learned," she said. Only because you refused to kneel, he replied. Only because you refused to look up, until I earned it. She leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder. The moon hung calm above them, crescent silver and benign. Do you think pups will believe it? She asked. That a story about dungeons and laws and blood moons can end like this? They'd better, he said. Or their Luna will assign them very long lessons. When bards told the tale in years to come, they rarely got every detail right. They embroidered, as bards must, the chains heavier, the kiss under the blood moon more dramatic, the prophecy more venomous. But some truths stayed anchored. That once there was an Alpha King raised on iron laws, who went to a dungeon to kill a stranger and found instead his own heart bound in Omega skin. That she refused to look up, not from weakness, but from a courage that knew one glance could shatter both their worlds. That when she finally did, he chose her over the blade. That together they faced rogue wolves and trembling councils, not by repeating old cruelties, but by daring to imagine another way. That their bond did not spare them loss or fear, but gave them a reason to walk through it. And that their throne did not burn. It changed. In the quiet between songs and battles, Alara would sometimes sit in the moonlit courtyard, listening to the soft sounds of her kingdom at rest. Kaelin would join her, shoulder to shoulder, their scents twined. Do you ever think about that first command? He'd murmur. When I told you to look at me. I think about the first time you stopped demanding, she'd say. And started asking. He'd take her hand. She'd let him. Above them, the moon goddess watched a story that had slipped her original script and smiled, just a little, at being proven wrong in the best possible way. Thank you for listening to this Alpha King and Omega Fated Mate tale. If this story pulled at your heart, make sure you're subscribed and ready. More cinematic werewolf romances, blood moon prophecies, forbidden dungeons, and destiny-defying Omegas are coming soon. Close your eyes, let the bond marks fade into dreams, and I'll meet you in the next story under the moon.